Hi guys, happy live. I can't believe it's been almost 3 months since I've done one of these on Wednesdays. I've done the weekly giveaways, or not weekly, I wish they were weekly, the monthly giveaways, as well as we did the 5 families Christmas giveaway a couple weeks ago, but I haven't done one of these Wednesday ones in almost 3 months, so I apologize for that. I do not apologize for being in Mexico for 2 months because that was lovely for myself, but I do apologize for not being here for 3 months. So thank you guys for popping in. For those of you that have never seen these before, what I do is do some happy news. I also do real estate updates as well as I answer your guys' questions. So feel free to write your questions in the chat, or I will answer some questions that have come in the last week or so. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start with the first question. I hope your guys' 2022 is off to a terrific start. Thank you guys for popping in. Sorry, I'm not dressed up. I'm at home and everything's closed and it's COVID. So disregard my hoodie and my messy bun. And I'm going to start with the first question that came in from Rick from Oro. So Rick says, my wife and I really want to sell this year, but we're afraid we won't find something to buy. What if we sell in March, for example, and do a long closing, such as September, October, but then we find a house that we want to move into in May? How does this work? Thank you, Rick, for asking. So what you can do is you can do an amendment to who bought your home, and you can try and get them to agree to that earlier closing date. And if they don't agree, you could always bridge finance for the property that you want to buy. So that just means because you have a firm contract on the other side, the sale of your house, then a bank will say, okay, we know your house is sold, so we'll give you the money ahead of time, even though you don't get it till September or October or what have you. Bridge financing does cost money. Back last time I did it was about $11 a day. I've heard of it as much as $20 a day. But obviously just depends on your banking institution. The most I've ever heard of it being is $400, but just depends on your banking institution. Now, please note you cannot bridge finance unless you have sold your house firm. So a lot of people have said like, oh, we'll just buy a house and then we'll sell ours later and we'll bridge finance. But you have to officially have yours sold firm before a bank will give you bridge financing, because just because you say your house is going to sell doesn't mean that they believe you. And you say it might sell for $1 million, it might only sell for 600. So they're only going to give you bridge financing if your house is already sold firm. Okay. So thank you for asking. Again, I do like some happy news before the real estate. So this was just like a typical day for some girl. She's 15. She got to her job at McDonald's, and basically she gave a lady in her minivan, she had like a young toddler in the front seat. She gave her some chicken fingers and she said she'll be right back with the rest of the stuff. And she came back and the lady was choking. So this girl is 15. She's worked at McDonald's for 7 months. She took a babysitting course when she was 12. And she's also autistic, by the way. Anyways, she jumped out the window. It's not obviously a door at McDonald's. She jumped out the window when she saw the lady was choking, the drive-through window. She opened the lady's car door, which was luckily open, and gave her like the Heimlich maneuver or whatever. I don't know if I'm saying that properly. But anyways, it was just a young toddler in the front seat. So she saved the lady's life, and they did an interview with her after, and she said, you know, she didn't think she'd accomplish much in her life, so it was cute. I don't know if maybe she'll get into, you know, paramedics or something healthcare wise, but the 15-year-old lady saved that lady, so I like that. The next question. Hi Jesse, hi Mel. It's hard to see the little bubbles of who's on here, but thank you for popping in. The next question comes from Jesse and Matt in Bradford. Again, you guys can write your questions in the chat if you want, or I will just answer some that have come in throughout the week. I apologize, it's so dark. My condo has tons of windows, and because the sun goes down so early nowadays, it's just super dark in here. Okay, so Jesse and Matt from Bradford said, we are kicking ourselves. I can't even read. We are kicking ourselves for not getting in the market when we were younger, but we've been given the opportunity to rent to own. We've heard mixed reviews and messages on this. What are your thoughts? Should we do it? Thank you, Jesse and Matt, for asking. So regarding rent to own, I personally don't like it. I would either rent or own. Obviously own if you can, just because of the amount that the real estate market goes up. But I would rent if you can't own. I wouldn't rent to own, because the problem with rent to own is a lot of people that do rent to own, they purposely want the rent to own person, the rentee, etc., to default. So basically, let's just say their house is $2,000 a month, but they're saying, hey, we're going to charge you $3,500 a month, and that extra $1,500 a month is going to go towards, you getting this house kind of thing. And usually they say, hey, give us $5,000 up front or $10,000 up front plus this $1,500 a month, and it'll go towards you buying the house, blah, blah, blah. But they'll do this big contract, and they'll say if you miss it even by one day, so instead of on January 1st, you pay it January 3rd, you lose all the money that you gave to them, all the extra money, all the deposits. So they purposely just want you to do that. So I would just rent until you can afford to buy it outright. Okay? So thank you for asking. I adopted a dog about 2 weeks ago, and I thought he would want to be on the camera so far, but he's just laying next to me, but I thought he would jump in. But anyways, a couple more happy news before I get into real estate, okay? So obviously, as of today, we've gone back into lockdown again. You can't go to the movies. You can't go to the gym. You can't go to a restaurant for dine-in, just for takeout. But obviously, you could go to the movies before. And there was just a movie out with, or I guess it's still out with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. And he ended up going to a movie theater. I don't know how he got the list of everybody that was at the movie theater. And somehow he crept the people, or his people crept the people, or I don't know. And there was somebody in the audience that was a Navy veteran, and he was a personal trainer, and he was taking care of his sick mom by himself, and he had started a charity for women and children coming out of abusive, relationships and so forth. And he also ran a youth group at his church. So Dwayne Johnson brought him onto stage and acknowledged him, and the guy was all happy, and he was like, I got 3 hugs from Dwayne Johnson, blah, blah. And then The Rock took him outside after and said he wanted to show him something. And he gave him a letter, and he said, thank you for your service. Enjoy your new truck. And he gave him a brand new truck. So I thought that was cute. I missed you guys too, Tiff. Thank you for popping in. It's been so long. It's crazy. Okay, so one more question before real estate. So Cassandra from Orangeville. So Cassandra from Orangeville said, I saw on your social media you went away for quite a while. How do you manage your rental properties when you're not close by? Thank you, Cassandra, for asking. With social media, not social media, but just our phones, it's super easy to do. So whether you have somebody like overseas handling it for you or whatever, or you're just doing it, you just open your phone, you go on your app, Airbnb, or whatever platform you use, VRBO, or however you say that, Verbo, I don't know. And you just go on it. So I just go on it. I see who's checking in the next day. Okay, they're checking in, and it's pre-printed. I've saved it. So, oh, you're checking in tomorrow. Oh, you're checking in tomorrow. You're checking in tomorrow, and it's done. And then PayPal, let's just say they check in Friday. PayPal sends me a thing on Saturday, and then I get paid. So whether I'm sitting at my dining room table behind me here or I'm sitting on a beach, I just have to tap. So it's really easy. And they have, cleaning crews at the homes anyway, so I'm not officially cleaning the house between guests. So that's no different than when I'm in the country. So that is how I do it. But thank you for asking. If you guys have any other questions about short-term rentals, I would be happy to answer. And then one more thing before real estate is basically this lady. She was from Milwaukee, and she felt like, when you're a kid, you have a doll or you have a blanket or something like that, maybe both. But a lot of kids nowadays are born with different things that maybe the dolls don't look like them. Maybe they are missing a limb, or they have, a big birthmark, or they have a big scar or something like that. So this lady makes custom dolls for these children, and she does it all for free, so just by donation, so the families never have to pay. And it is called A Doll Like Me. If you guys want to donate, I just thought it was a really cool thing to do for kiddos. Now I'm going to do real estate, okay? So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I am just going to ramble on in my hoodie and my messy bun. And I don't know officially how long I should keep my tree up. What's the rule? Like a week past Christmas, a week past New Year's? I have no idea. It is still up. It's pretty, so I'm leaving it for a bit. Okay, so real estate, the main thing people basically asked me while I was away since being back is what's going to happen in 2022 in the market. And the short answer is the exact same that's happened. It's going to continue to go up. It's just not going to go up as crazy. So 2020 to 2021 was insanity. It is going to continue to rise. It's just not going to go up at such an extreme pace. But it is still going to go up just because the lack of demand and the supply do not equal out. So therefore, it only has one way to go, which is up. but I will give details to that in full, as well as about, you know, the interest rate and so forth going up. So that is the main thing that people, you know, ask. So instead of it going up, you know, 32%, 38%, etc., it'll still rise, just not at such a rate that it did 2020 to 2022. Okay. Hi, Taylor. How are you? Hi, Mark. Thank you for popping in. You know, I was saying about the mortgage rates going up. So it's going to be the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. Economists, the number one month that they're guessing it's going to be is November. The second month they're guessing it's going to be September. It's not set in stone when it's going to be, but it's only supposed to be around 0.7. So if you're paying 2% right now in a variable, for example, you'd be paying 2.7. It's not like you're jumping from 2 to 9% or 2 to 6% or anything crazy like that. And then, of course, if you're locked in for 5 years or 3 years or what have you, it's not going to matter if it goes up in the fall until your term to renew it anyways, okay? And they're expecting that 80 to 91% of homes listed in North America are going to sell within 30 days in 2022, as opposed to, for example, obviously we know 2021 was crazy, so was 2020. Even though 2021 was so much up over 2020, 2020 was still crazy. In 2019, only 42% of homes that were listed sold. So for it to more than double, basically 80 to over 90% of homes are expected to sell in 30 days, just shows our lack of inventory. What else? Oh yeah, so the rate, like the 0.7, is not going to affect everybody, but those that it does affect obviously will need to buy before fall. So they're expecting that the, you know, right after winter, what we're experiencing right now, into spring and into summer is going to be really busy. And then fall will either, you know, level out or just go up a slow amount, but not a high amount, because people have either already bought by that time or then they can't buy with the new higher rate. Hi, John. How are you? Hi, Greg. Thank you for popping in. So on a side note, I'm just saying I always do random stuff on here. So in 2020, 31% of buyers were first-time buyers. And in 2021, 34% of buyers were first-time buyers. And in 2021, 11% of people that bought homes were buying multi-generational families. So, you know, obviously the prices are up. So if they're like, hey, I can't afford to buy this house, I'm going to buy it with my sister, I'm going to buy it with my mom, my aunt, both my mom and my aunt, my dad, my grandpa, etc. So 11% bought multi-generational homes in 2021. This is in all of Ontario, okay? And 15% of people bought new builds, which is still a fair amount. But if we think back to 1989, I don't know why they gave the statistic of 89, and no, I was not in the business in 89. But in 1989, there were 29% of people were buying new builds. So it's just showing, you know, we don't have a lot of new builds available right now. Obviously, we're getting short on space and people don't want to necessarily be 15 hours from the city center. So we don't have that much space. So only 15% of people in 2021 bought new builds, and the rest bought pre, you know, somebody's lived in it 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, etc. Okay. And this is all, by the way, from the National Association of Realtors. Okay. And in 2021, the average person looked at 8 homes before buying. Back in the day, I know when I first started, they'd look at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, etc. was really common. But nowadays, if you look at that many homes and you think about it, you're on number 80 and you're like, hey, I really like number 3. And you go back to number 3, it's obviously long sold with multiple offers. And basically the seller of that home is kind of laughing at you and they're like, yeah, that was so long ago. Like you have to be much more on the ball if you want to buy a property in this market. Okay. So the average buyer is looking at 8 properties in 2021, and they didn't say an expected for 2022, but obviously probably right around there. So in Simcoe County last month, 617 homes sold, which isn't too bad. But the year before, the exact same month, so obviously 2020 in the same month, there were 711 homes sold. So less homes sold. However, in 2020, the average sales price was $650 and change. It was $650, $620 to be exact, but I just find the first 3 numbers easier to go off of. So it was $650 for the average sales price, and last year, the exact same month, was $845. Not last year, but yes, I guess it is now. It's January. So last month, I should say, the exact same month, but 1 year later was $845. So from $650 for the average sales price in Simcoe County to $845, so almost $200,000 higher in 1 year is insanity. So that is up 30%. Thank you, Marcy, for popping in. Hi, Laura. Hi, Christina. Hi, Margie. Hope you're well. Okay, so that's up 30%. And now if we look at just Barrie, not that was Simcoe County what I said. So if we look at just Barrie, so last month there were 16.9% less homes that sold, but you can probably guess that the sales price is not lower. So in 2020, the average sales price was 603 and change, and last month it was 836. So 603 to 836 for the average sales price in Barrie. So that is up 38.5% in 1 year. Okay, insanity. I remember when I first got in the business, condos used to be up like 2 to 5% a year, and freeholds were up 5 to like 8.5, 9 the odd time. So to be up 38.5 is craziness. Hi Josh, thank you for popping in. Okay, so all of those numbers I gave you for Barrie and Simcoe were freehold, so they were not condominiums like I'm in, for example. So freehold means you own it outright. Condo means like you don't own the hall, obviously, you don't own the pool, you don't own if there's tennis courts, the parking garage, etc. So you pay a common element fee, your condo fee. Could be $200 a month, could be $800 a month, etc., depending where you live. So how did condos do? So condos were up 35.5% over last year, and 21.9% less condos sold, but again, they were up 35.5%. And now they average in Simcoe County for $559 and change to get into a condo. Okay? Okay. So now styles. So I'm saying like detached compared to semi-detached, townhomes, etc. Again, I thought my dog would want to see what I was doing or be on my lap, but he's just passed out next to me. Detached homes. So again, I'm looking at last month compared to 2020, the exact same month, okay? So last month for a detached home, on average, you have to pay $855. The year before, you had to pay $644, okay? So $855 last month, $644 a year ago. Obviously a huge jump, over 200,000. For a semi-detached home, now you're looking at 640,000. A year ago, you were looking at 476. Okay, now you're looking at 640. If you were looking at townhomes last month, you're going to be paying about 623, and the year before for a townhouse was 460 on average. Okay. Thank you, Jess, for popping in. Hi, Claire. I think it's Claire. Okay, so other people have asked us, will there be bidding wars in 2022? So yes, bidding wars are still going to exist. We still don't have the inventory. We still have a lot of demand. And a lot of people have gotten out of like investor-wise, so they are not looking to invest in hotels. They're not looking to invest in restaurants, etc. Obviously, like they're closed again and so forth. And a lot of retail spaces aren't doing the greatest. So a lot of investors have gotten out of there. So they've joined the regular residential investors, plus the regular people who are investors, plus the regular buyers, plus the downsize people and that whole realm. So there's just more buyers to the pool, which is not good for a lot of people because bidding wars. So another common thing that's going to continue in 2022 is people leaving major city centers. So whether they just want a bigger home or they want to work from home, and why not work from a cottage, etc., as long as it has good Wi-Fi. So they are still leaving the city centers. So that's something I'll talk about a little bit later, is like about Toronto, how somewhere else has tripled, how much Toronto has gone up, which I will talk about in a little bit. But East Gwillimbury, for example, like when I said about Barrie and Simcoe, the amount of homes sold here has been less than last year. When I say last year, I mean 2020, not 2021, but a full year ago. It's been less, but East Gwillimbury, for example, in the first 6 months, it sold 145.3% more in the first 6 months of 2021 than it did of 2020, which is crazy. And Georgina, on the other side of Lake Simcoe, they sold 90.4% more in the first 6 months than they did in the first 6 months of the year prior. So obviously their prices are up, as are ours, but for some reason we have less inventory here. So I said about vacation properties that those are still going to be on the rise, as well as high ticket priced homes. So a lot of people have gotten out of the stock market as well. So they're putting their money into bigger homes or second homes, third homes, etc. So higher end homes are still going to be sought after and so forth, as well as obviously first time buyers, investor pricing as well. And so some economists were asked to describe the real estate market in 2021. And one person described it, and I thought it was a good representation was it's basically like a Black Friday sale. There's only 3 big screen TVs for like, you know, whatever cheap price, but there's all these buyers racing to get to it, right? So it's a Black Friday sale. Everybody's racing to get to stuff, but there's only so many things and they don't give you rain checks, unfortunately. So obviously at like Best Buy and wherever they don't have bidding wars, but in this situation we have bidding wars because there's only so many TVs/houses to buy. So here's some extra stuff about growth throughout Ontario in 2021, because I'm behind on the year there, 2021. So the highest growth ever, not ever, but in 2021 was in Bancroft. So they were just shy of 48%, so 47.3%. Brantford was 40.8%. I grew up in Hamilton, and Brantford had a really bad name back then, but it's got a lot of growth now. And North Bay went up 40.4%. Shadfly Central, if any of you guys have ever been there. Cambridge went up 38.7%. Barrie went up 36.8%. Oakville 36.3%. Niagara just over 35%. Woodstock 34 and change percent. London, where I was born, 34% and change. I won't do the decimals. Kitchener, 34, also not doing the decimals. Owen Sound was 33 and a bit, and Peterborough was 32 and a bit. I won't do all of them, but those are majority. Obviously, you can see they're all over 30%, all the way up to 47.3%. So what else was I going to say here? Oh, yeah. So it's still expected to be super busy throughout the spring and into the summer. And then again, like I said, fall is supposed to just be a bit more stagnant. And if there is an incline, it'll just be a gradual incline, not like a steep incline, because people have either already bought by then or they can't afford to buy by then. So it's just a bit more quiet and it's not as crazy. So it will be a bit crazy before then. So if you're planning on selling and you wanted to have a bidding war on your property, there will definitely be more buyers in the market now than there is in the fall, just because not everybody, let's just say they're approved for $700,000, they're not going to be approved for $700,000 when the rate has changed. So that is why. Terranet, they do different surveys all the time. They said a quarter of the homes bought in Toronto last year were bought by investors. And a lot of people are saying like investors are messing up first-time buyers. So some people are trying to say and hopefully put into place, and they're hoping, not my hoping, that 35% will have to be put down by investors instead of 20%, which is the current. Now, the problem with that is that all the investors, whether that's going to come into play or not, are all going to jump on the market now because they're going to try and buy everything up and put 20% down as opposed to 35% in case that happens, which just means, again, more buyers on the market right now. So that is that. And there was a recent article, and it basically talked about 2 cities in Toronto that are in a possible housing bubble burst. And most people would think Toronto and Vancouver, but you're wrong. They are Hamilton and Montreal. So Hamilton, where I went to high school, go Ticats. Woo woo. And Montreal, I don't have any affiliation there, so sorry. However, 3rd and 4th on the list were Toronto and Ottawa. So Vancouver was not on the list. So even though Toronto always has like high prices and so forth, and a lot of people just think it's crazy, they have not gone up as much as other places. So I mentioned earlier that some places have gone up 3 times the amount that Toronto has gone up in the past 5 years. So Toronto in the past 5 years has gone up 67.8%. But as I mentioned to you earlier, some places are going up over 43% a year, or at least in the last year they have. So Bancroft, for example, that was the place that went up 47.3% in the last year. And in the last 5 years, again, Toronto was 67.8%, but Bancroft, I don't know where I got Vancouver from. Bancroft in the last 5 years has gone up 165.6% in the last 5 years. I used to go up there to a cottage to Lake Baptiste. So compared to Toronto's 67.8%. So Bancroft is rocking away up north there by Algonquin Park. So even though, you know, prices are going up, economists say if the prices ever get to a level, you know, at par with Toronto, which obviously they're not currently, you can't buy a house in Bancroft for the same price as a house in Toronto. Their price, their average was $470 something, I forget, $474 or something like that. But basically economists are saying if it ever gets to the point where it rises so much in outer parts, then it's not going to make sense for Torontonians to move to those places, because basically they're moving now there for affordability, right? But if it doesn't make sense affordability wise, why would they move 90 minutes, 3 hours, 5 hours, etc.? So it just depends if it ever gets to that point. I know I gave lots of statistics and numbers, so this is a non-statistic and number thing. It does have a couple numbers, just a 57 and 51-year-old. They bought a home and they did not know that it was used in the movie The Holiday, that 2006 cute movie with Cameron Diaz. So they bought it for £625, which is equivalent to $1,080,000, and that was in 2019. They didn't even know, so people stop all the time and ask to take pictures and ask to rent it out and to house swap and all that kind of stuff. They let them take pictures, but they do not let them house swap, FYI, in case you were hoping to do so. So I just thought it was cute because I like that movie, and they didn't even know that they bought like a famous house. I have no idea how that was not advertised by the agent, but it was not. So anyways, the next question is from Denise in Barrie. So Denise in Barrie said, do you think the government will impose anything such as foreign buyer tax everywhere, or anything to slow the market? Thank you, Denise, for asking. I have no idea, to be honest. Like, sometimes, obviously in my career, sometimes they say, hey, as of midnight tonight, this rule's going in. Sometimes it'll be February and they'll say, as of July 30th, this rule goes in. So I have no idea what they're going to do. And then obviously with just, politics and elections and all that kind of stuff, everybody says different things. Some people say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and blah, blah. Some people just do it for votes. Some people follow through, etc. So I do not know. But they do tend to do things, and they do tend to do things when they shouldn't. But anyways, that's just my opinion. Usually the market does its own thing. Like, obviously a lot of people like to move in the summer because of kids and school and that kind of thing. So sometimes they put in rules at odd times when it naturally slows at certain times anyways. So I have no idea if they're going to. But if they do, hopefully they give it to us in a few months, not like midnight that night. So at least to give, people time. Like, for example, 2 days ago, they said today, all these things are going to close. So if, for example, they said that about something real estate wise, 2 days does not give people time to close, and lawyers and all that kind of stuff. But if they gave them 4 months, then that would give them time to do stuff real estate wise. So that's my opinion, but thank you for asking. Okay. So there was a little dog that I liked because he is basically cleaning up the environment, not fully, but a little bit, and bringing families together. So there was a couple in England, and they found a dog in a garbage bag hanging from a tree. Don't ask me how that happens. But I was just looking at Charlie, my new puppy, who's not a puppy, he's 6. I call all dogs puppies, but he's 6 approximately. But so somehow a dog was in a garbage bag in a tree, hanging from a tree. It was a puppy, and they saved him. And for some reason, this dog liked to pick up trash when they walk the dog and put it in the garbage can. Again, don't ask me. And so some people in the neighborhood would start to tape the dog because they thought it was cute, like this dog always taking garbage and putting it in the trash can. And eventually they interviewed the owners, who at this point are now 80, and somebody saw it on social media and it got shared a bunch of times. Anyways, this one man who's 80 ended up finding his long lost brother, who was 84, and sister. So I just thought it was cute that the dog not only cleaned up the little neighborhood, but also reunited some seniors and made for a happy pandemic story for them. So I thought that was cute. The next question is from Darren in Aurelia. Hi, Josh. Thank you for popping in. So Darren in Aurelia says, do you know if there are rules to what you can use your home refinance money for? Thank you, Darren, for asking. So I am a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker. However, just from refinancing myself, I don't know of any rules. Obviously, it doesn't make sense. Let's just say you're pulling something out and you're being charged 3.5%. It doesn't make sense to take that 3.5 and spend it at the casino or buy a boat that's going to go down in value, etc., when you might lose it at the casino and your boat goes down in value or your car goes down in value, etc. But if you were to buy real estate and it's going up that 38% a year, or 27% a year, or 31% a year, or whatever, and you're only paying 3.5% on it, and it's going up 30-something%, then that obviously makes more sense. But I've never heard of any rules to what you can and can't do with it. I know people put additions on their houses with it. I know people buy boats and go on vacations, etc., and other people buy rental properties and so forth. So I don't know any rules. But again, I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm a real estate broker, not a mortgage broker. So Mortgage broker could tell you better. If I could get my profession straight, that would be helpful. But a mortgage broker can tell you more so, but I've never heard of it. But thank you for asking. Okay, so can you guys imagine a teacher basically getting a box of moolah? So there was a teacher, and he was in Harlem, and he worked at a school, and a box came addressed to the head of the physics department, and he opened it. It was a beat up, basically cardboard box, and there was 180,000 cash in it. There was a letter in it. And after investigating for 2 months, they couldn't find out who had sent the money. So they kept it, and they set up 2 scholarships a year for a decade for, you know, kids that couldn't afford school and so forth. And they kept the box. They spray painted it like a bronzy gold color. They put it like in one of those display cases in the front hallway along with the letter. And then they just had the, you know, 2 scholarships a year for the decade. So that was super cute. So the next question comes from Jackie and Crystal in Barrie. So Jackie and Crystal in Barrie said, we saw your Christmas giveaways and it was really beautiful to watch. We were wondering how you pick the people, if they have to be your clients, and if you'll do it again next year. Thank you for asking. So what we do is anybody can nominate anybody in Simcoe County. They could live in England, they could nominate, they could live in Saskatchewan and nominate, they could live anywhere. They could live in Simcoe County and nominate themselves. They could nominate their sister, their neighbor, etc. They do not have to be clients of ours, the people nominating or the people winning, but the people winning do have to live in Simcoe County. We're not driving 12 hours to surprise them. So we did 5 families this year. To be honest, we were going to do 7, but the other 2 didn't want to be on video, and we do it live. So it was down from 7 to 5. Last year we did 4. We don't have a set number. It's basically just, do we like 12 people that get nominated? Do we only like 2 that get nominated? Do we like 20 that get nominated? And then we Zoom, or I Zoom, I should say, with the top 10 or 20 winners, or however many there are, to fine tune, to basically see if stories are really true and so forth, and just get a feel for the people. And then we pick from there the true and final winners, and then we surprise them. So as for next year, I'm not sure, to be honest. We're open to suggestions. So we have been doing $2,500 giveaways on the first of every month. And I don't know if we're going to do that again. We're open to suggestions. If you guys say, yeah, I think you should keep doing that. Or if you say, hey, I think you should give to this charity instead, it's really awesome. Or what about this? Or what about that? We are open to suggestions, whether we should keep doing what we have been doing or try something new. We're not really sure what to do in 2022, but we are totally open to your guys' suggestions. So thank you for asking. And one more thing is, how did you spend your Christmas Eve? So there were 24-ish people, 2,000 people in Washington that ended up being like basically on a river near the highway. And there were 12 elk that had gone in the water. And they called some, what was it called, Fish and Gaming Commission or something, for help. And they said, like, let nature do its course and just leave the elk in they had, you know, gone across the ice, but it wasn't completely frozen. And the people refused to do that. So they ended up using like a winch. I don't even know if I'm saying that word properly. And like their 4x4 truck. And a couple of them went like on kayaks, kind of on the icy water thing. And lots of ropes, of course. And they got all 12 of the elk out. 6 of them, unfortunately, did not make it 24 hours. But 6 did, and 1 was a baby. So I thought that was cute. And the people said if they could give up their Christmas Eve again to save animals, they would. So anyways, I thank you guys all for tuning in. I know, like I said, it's been almost 3 months since I've done one of these. I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a super start to your 2022. Be kind to one another and have a great week.